It is a delight to be with you again this afternoon on the Healthcare Leadership Excellence podcast. We are going back a bit today to our very first episode. And the reason I had this person on the episode to begin with, that was 192 episodes ago, is that this person was easily in the top 3 of people who have influenced my pathway. And my first recollection was when I walked on the job in June of 1986, 40 years ago. 40 years ago, I walked into this little organization in Salt Lake City, Utah, and somebody mentioned that I would be reporting to this individual who was at that time going through Europe with the CEO working on some contract. So I'm pretty buttoned down. You see me in shirt and tie today, and I'm pretty buttoned down. And the first time I met this individual was about 3 weeks after I'd started. And in he comes, nicely pressed Levi's, a white button-down shirt, and cowboy boots. And he took off his hat and put it on a rack in his office. And that's when I met someone who literally changed how I work. And literally, the person I am sitting in front of you today talking is because of Mr. Jay Ewell, who was our guest yet again. Jay, it is such an honor and a pleasure to have you with us.
Karl, it's unbelievable. Number one, it's 40 years, but more unbelievable is the fact that you said I had pressed Levi's. Karl, they were Wranglers.
Oh,
Wranglers.
oh my goodness, I'm surprised you just didn't disconnect when I said Levi's.
I did not. And for the folks who are listening, uh, first time I saw Karl, what I saw was this young man. And this young man who I saw had grit, determination. He had honesty in his face. He had compassion in his soul. And I said, I like him. I really think that we're going to be able to mold him and grow him. And I have to say, Karl, you far exceeded anything I've ever done or the people around me that we've accomplished. Hats off to you, brother. You've really done a great job. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. So one of the things that, and I'm going to give a little background here. I won't use any corporate names, but Jay was up in the higher leadership of the small organization that I joined that was then bought out by Aetna Life and Casualty. And we had a client contract, and you'll remember this well, Jay, because I sent you the picture, the piece of paper. This is to our listeners, I was getting shredded by the chief medical officer of this organization. We had dropped the ball on some of the situations, and I was technically over those areas. So I'm getting pretty nervous. And I can close my eyes, Jay. I can see the colors of the chairs in the conference room. I can see where this guy was sitting. And in the middle of it, listeners, I see Jay writing something on a yellow piece of paper. And the gentleman who was speaking looked down and Jay passed me the paper. And I wasn't too sure if that yellow, you've heard about pink slips. I wasn't sure if this yellow piece of paper was my new pink slip. But on it, Jay wrote the words, "These are system issues. Don't worry. I have your back." Jay, because this was a big dollar situation. This was a really high flying company that had trusted us, and I dropped the ball. What in your brain said that you needed to say that to me instead of joining his chorus and basically just leaving me hanging out to dry? What values at that moment said, "No, I'm not going to do that"?
Uh, I actually, believe it or not, do remember this as well. It goes back to Karl, what I said in the beginning about what I saw in you. So that really established your foundation of credibility in what I saw in you as number one, as a man, as a coworker, and as a trusted colleague. What I heard in the meeting, though, and I'm going to be a little bit, I'm going to have a different take than you. What I heard in the meeting, it wasn't about you or your performance. It was about our organization and the certain areas in our organization that let you down and left you exposed. Though that fell on my shoulders, not yours. And I was responsible for that system. And I wasn't about to let you get railroaded in the process. And I, this is before I began my relationship with my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, but I just needed to let you know, hey, don't worry about it.
So, how has that path, because again, there are people who are listening to us who may not have faith as part of their background. So, if this pushes you in the wrong direction, um, hang with us here. Jay, how has that change in your life affected your leadership?
That change occurred on July 17th, 2010. And how it changed me as a man was just from my boots all the way up to my hat. Uh, it made me understand what my dad was trying to teach me when he said, Jay, what you are made of is number one, our name, Youell. Please honor that name. Do not do anything to dishonor that name. Number two, when you're dealing with another person, look them in the eye, tell them the truth. Number three, when you say you are going to do something, look that person in the eye, shake their hand, and say, I will follow through on it. I tried to live that way, and I believe I was somewhat successful. However, in 2010, it took on a whole new meaning for me. It wasn't my dad, my earthly dad, that I was living for. It was my heavenly dad that I was living for. And tell you what, the stakes got a whole bunch higher.
Oh, talk about a game changer. Um, and it's interesting, that look him in the eye, shake the hand, tell him you'll do it. I got called on the carpet a couple of years ago. Um, Something happened with a company, and the lawyer phoned, and he said, "Well, the contract that you signed with us, what were the details?" And I said, "I never signed a contract." And I said, "Your chief operating officer and I talked about it. We agreed and we shook hands on it." And he said, "You're okay with that?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I trust your chief operating officer. I've known him a while. So if he says it's going to happen," and this attorney was absolutely amazed that I would go forward with a high five-figure contract on a handshake. And it's, well, yeah, because we talked about it and I trust him and he trusts me. What more do we need? And I realized at that moment there's not a lot of people who believe that anymore.
There, I think the number is probably a bit smaller, but it also reflects your foundation, you as a man, you as a business person, and what you believe in. And so I say, good job on that one, Karl. Even if you'd gotten burned, you stood by your word, and I would still say, good job, Karl.
Yep. So what is it that gets in the way of people standing in their word, in your view, or of going back on their word or not honoring it?
I can only look at myself for that. I can't look at anybody else. Before 2010, um, I would I would fall, and it was usually to protect that perception potentially of who I was, and I didn't want to look in a certain way, and that's why I would falter in after I had said something that I did not follow through. I hope and pray that those times were far and few between, but I know that there were. And I believe it's because I wanted to look a certain way. Post 2010, when I realized the only way to be is to be honest, is that when the situations are difficult, yeah, and I'm not going to look great, but I really don't care now what other people, or let me put it this way, what the world thinks of me. I care about, number one, what my Lord and Savior thinks of me. I care that my wife respects me, and I care that my children look up to me and say, I want to be that way as well.
Couldn't say it better. Going to children for a second, what you just said really penetrated about your wife and about your children. What's your thought process that you go through when you have a tough decision and you know that if you went left, you couldn't look your wife in the eye? What's your thinking process of never go left, only go right? How do you handle that?
Let me ask you a clarifying question, Karl. Is that pre 2010 or post 2010?
Answer for both.
I'm going to start with the positive. Um, Post 2010, again, I am called to be direct. I'm called to be honest. I'm called to speak the truth. I'm also called that I do not know everything. In fact, I don't know a whole bunch about anything. The person who I trust the most next to my Lord is my wife. And what I've had to learn is that going to my wife is okay. Number one, I need to hear from her. I need to understand what she thinks and feels about a particular situation. Then, when I get the input, I share with her what the decision I'm going to make is going to be. And let me clarify for your audience, because I'm no longer in, quote, the corporate world today. I run a cattle ranch. And when I talk about going to my wife, we have to make decisions about cows and about horses and things like that. And so that's what I'm dealing with, but it's going to her, number one. And also uh, actually hearing and listening to what she had to say. Prior to 2010, I can't say that I was always a great listener. I would hear, but I can't say that I was a great listener. She confronted me once and said, Are you really listening to me? We were both sitting in our lazy boy recliners, and I had to ask myself, Are you really listening, Jay? And I said, No. I said, I wasn't. And I apologize to you. But from this moment on, I am going to listen to what you've said. And I have tried. I know that I've failed. I know that I have failed, but I can't tell you how much I've tried that when she speaks to me as my counselor, I will listen. Pre 2010, it was also a different marriage, too. So your audience should know that. As far as decisions in the workplace, I would probably go to what I would consider to be trusted advisors, but therein lay the challenge for me is that who did I really trust in the workplace? And I have to say, Karl, that again, this is pre 2010. I was trusting me more than anybody else or any spiritual guidance. And sometimes I got it right in trusting and confiding, and sometimes I did not. Ask me if I prefer 2010. Yes, I do.
Absolutely.
The
So
key,
digging,
the key though, is truly, truly listening.
and that's my next question. Um, I always joke with people that they'll ask me, what are some really key things for a leader? And I'll say, listening is one of the most important. They'll say, oh, good, good, because I do well at that. What's the next thing? And it's, yeah, not so much. So give us some guidance on what listening, because listeners, Jay is never going to admit to this, but he had a highly successful career. So even though he runs a cattle ranch right now, we're going to get into that in a second. Um, when he talks about listening, he knows what he's talking about. So, what about listening? How can someone get better at listening?
Again, this is just me talking, and it starts with closing my mouth and looking at the person who is talking with me, and I mean really looking at the person. You and I are on a Zoom call, but you and I are looking at each other. I mean, we're not looking away, and keeping my mouth shut, making sure that I am hearing what you are saying. I'm also, if I'm unclear, I'm going to ask some clarifying questions, but it's all about keeping my mouth shut. And at the right time, once Karl is through speaking with me, if I'm unsure about something, I need to play that back for Karl. It's not about me in a listening situation, and just using you as an example, it's about Karl. And I should be a facilitator by listening to you, being quiet, being respectful, giving you what you deserve in this situation to make sure that I completely understand. That's what I do.
What have you noticed are the things that de-escalate when you're in a situation, whether you're negotiating a cattle sale or whether you put yourself back several years when you were still living on jets? What de-escalates conflict better than anything else? When there's some real strong feelings in the room, how do you unplug those?
I believe it's by letting my humanity show and for example, just you and I right now, letting Karl know that I'm a man of humanity. I'm a man of caring. I'm a man of my word. And as we're having conversations about very difficult situations where, we are wide apart on a solution between the two of us. It's not going to do me any good to raise my voice, to give you the face. What's going to do me good is to look at you, say, Karl, I really want us to be able to work to a solution. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I want you to know that I'm sitting across from you and I want to make this thing work. If it doesn't, if we've exhausted every potential, we know that you and we gave it our best. And if you need to work with someone else besides me, I'm totally okay with that as well. But I want you, Karl, and now I'm kind of talking about humanity again. I want you to see me not as Jay, the sales guy, not as Jay, the cattle guy, but as a fellow human being. And that we have a relationship because we're both fellow humans. Let's let our humanity show.
And what's the reaction when that happens?
Uh, I can only go in today's life right now because I'm not going to go back into the corporate world. In today's life, and again for the viewers, we raise cattle. We Our goal is to feed the world, and that's what we do. And I work with a lot of different people. And a lot of the people I work with are very, very tough individuals. There may be a lot of profanity. There may be some coarseness in their conversation. Uh, but once they understand where I'm coming from as an individual, and these are also people that I work with, cowboys who ride with us. Once they understand that Jay is not going to be the guy that's going to say the four-letter words. Jay's not going to be the guy who's going to gossip about you. Jay's not going to be the guy that's going to do this. You can trust Jay. It takes a period of time, but I have to tell you that over a period, people watch you, whether or not you realize it, but people watch your actions and what you say. And what your actions show speak so much more loudly than what comes out of my mouth. So I try in the environment I'm in today is to let my actions really represent me, whether or not we're negotiating, whether or not we're just talking.
So our listeners are usually on an exercise bike, driving to work. They're listening and they're worried. How did you deal, and even now, um, with tough situations that just felt overwhelming? How how should a growing leader, what are some suggestions and guidance you can give them so that the task that's in front of them doesn't seem like it's just too steep of a mountain? How did you ground yourself? How would you suggest they ground themselves?
Well, again, Carl, I'm going to risk, stepping on some toes here because I am going to go post 2010 and I am going to go spiritual. That's the first place I go in difficult situations. Before I got on this podcast with you, I sat in this chair and I just prayed and I said, Father, Lord, we're gonna talk about a lot of things. Father, just please guide me to be truthful. Please guide me to be honest. Please guide me to be a man of integrity. And then we got on the call. So I have to say that's the first thing that I do in any difficult situation is I go to prayer. Number one. Number two is, again, back to my mouth, to my tongue. I listen a heck of a lot more. And I'm not afraid to say, let's come back to this. Hey, let's go ahead and maybe, let's go ahead and gather those 50 head in that back pasture. But let's come back to this. I want to think about this some more, if you're okay with that.
And what does that pause do for people? Because that is so powerful. Let's come back to this.
I, what does it do for people? For the most part, I haven't seen people push back to me and say, no, darn it, I want to solve it right now or whatever. For the most part, they're willing to take that pause. It's almost like they say, okay, I can breathe, he can breathe. Let's go ahead and maybe just take a pause. It does not need to be solved right today. Uh, the hardest person I have to do with that is my partner in our ranching operation, not my wife. Okay, it's my business partner Bryce, because he's I mean, Carl, he's like you when you were young. I mean, you were a go-getter. You just wanted to do everything, and you wanted to do it yesterday, which I really love and liked and respected. Bryce is that way today, except he's 49 years old, and you know, sometimes I just need to tell him, Bryce, remember when we started this business, we had three objectives. Number one, I was going to work with you in your faith. Number two, you were going to turn me from an arena cowboy into a real day working cowboy. And number three are financials. You're dealing with financials. Let's focus on the first two. Let's back away from this for a moment. And invariably, Bryce takes a deep breath, steps back, and says, Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Karl, I have to say, this podcast is probably off the rails for most of your folks, but again, I'm just a cowboy.
Yes, you are a cowboy. I'll take just out of the equation. That is deep wisdom, and you can't argue with it. I want to switch gears a bit here because there are two things that I've always, and might I be clear with our listeners that Jay is just not a working cowboy. You also do rodeo competition, do you not?
Yes, sir. I rope steers,
Okay, yeah,
but that's going a little bit slower. 73 years old. It's I need a fast horse to be able to compete with these young guys. But yes,
yeah,
sir, I still do.
yeah, that's what I thought. And behind you on the wall, I can see surfboards. So tell us a bit about how those activities help you be a more grounded individual. Because you've talked to me about just that almost Zen-like experience of being out on the waves.
Okay, didn't expect this one. Um, if you look at cowboying and if you look at surfing, what people probably don't really realize is that it's two cultures that are very, very similar, but they are cultures. Cowboys. And when I say cowboys, for all of you ladies out there, uh, some of the best cowboys out there are ladies. So please take that as a compliment. And my hat goes off to you. But in with cowboys, there's a code that we follow, and that code is very, very straight. It is number one, it's around truth, it's around respect, and it's around taking care of our environment, and it's around taking care of our animals, our family, and our Lord and Savior. And that's what the culture is all about. For example, when I meet a woman I've never met before, I take my hat off and I shake her hand because that's what we do in our code. If it's another person, a gentleman who I haven't seen in a while, I may just tip my hat at him as we walk by. Now, let me take it a little bit different. You know, when we have to go out and gather 200 cows in a pasture of about 600 acres, there's a code we follow there. The boss, the leader, he's number one. He is on the horse. Then there's number two. That person is usually the second in command or the eldest. And then cowboy three, cowboy four, cowboy five, cowboy six. And we go out in that order. And in that pasture, as you're gathering cows, you never leave that order. It's always one, two, three, four, five, six. That is what we do. When one of the individuals, when we have to go through a gate, they get off their horse, they open the gate. You say, thank you, sir, thank you, ma'am. It's a culture, it's a code. Now let's go over to surfing. Surfing is also a culture as well. Number one, what are we doing? We're in an environment that we have to take care of. We have to take care of that water. We have to take care of those beaches. Because if we don't, we're not going to be able to have surfing. Number two, there is a code out in the water as well. Guys like me, especially when I go to Hawaii and I paddle out, I'm called a kook. And a kook is someone who is really not that good And what you have to do is be respectful of, number one, those locals who are there. It's their beach. You are going out there to try and fit in, but you have to respect them. You stay on the outside of them. And eventually, they may invite you to get a little bit closer to where the waves break. And then lastly, in surfing, it's about taking care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to make the paddle out to catch waves, to do what you need to do. It's cultures, and it also keeps me focused, and it keeps me young, and it keeps me in a place that, back to my wife, that she likes to be with me in both of those events, cowboying, surfing. And it helps me to love my wife unconditionally, and it helps her because she respects what I do. And if you don't have that in your love and your relationship with your wife, you're missing a lot. And again, Karl, I know that I'm going out of here on this podcast, but that's what you got with me, partner.
If you were, I would have stopped recording. I love what I'm hearing. I had a physician tell me the other day, Karl, this culture stuff is all well and good, but really we're adults. We just should do our jobs and let's not spend a lot of time on the culture. And he's talking about the hospital. How would you respond to that?
I'd say, yes, sir. Um, would you tell me a little bit more about your culture? I'd really like to understand the culture that you live in. Uh, would you tell me more about it? And I would wait, and I would have him talk to me about his culture. And I would find the questions in my heart to find out what's exciting about it. And, you say he's a doctor, he's in a hospital and everything. Hey, we're all going to end up there one of these days. And I want to know about it. And so I would want to ask him a bunch of questions. And I would hope at the end of that he would realize that I'm asking those questions not to polish his boots or to shine them, but I was seriously interested in him as a man, as a professional, and I really wanted to learn more about him. And that's what I would that's how I'd approach it, Karl. And then that would direct me on where we go from there in our relationship. And I would hope he would ask me about my cultures.
So somewhere out in our listening audience is someone who is us 40 years ago and is wondering if they can really make an impact as I described you'd made for me. To that person who maybe be in their late 20s, early 30s, which we both were when we met, what would you say to her or to him to keep themselves on track for the next few decades in a tough time? You've talked about integrity, respect, taking care of each other. Anything else you'd add in there, Jay?
Yes, I would. I would ask them to take a good close look at themselves, and ask themselves, do they have a moral compass? Okay. And if so, they need to define what that moral compass is. Because if they don't have it, they're going to do a lot of flailing, in my opinion. And again, I don't mean to step on any toes. There's only one moral compass in this. There's only one moral compass. So that is number one. Number two is I would ask them to take a serious look at, okay, what are they trained to do? And what do they really love and want to do? The third thing I would ask them is, have they managed their finances, the resources that have been given to them, in a manner that the resources don't manage them, but they are managing the resources themselves, because that does give them some flexibility when they make that decision that no, what I'm doing now is not what I want to do, yet I have to have this paycheck in order to pay for this X, Y, or Z. That's number three. Number four is I would ask them to seriously look at who they have encircled themselves with is their five closest advisors. Okay. And to really, really do a very serious deep dive if these advisors are truly helping them, hindering them, or allowing them to make the status quo. Um, those would be the immediate ones, with obviously moral compass being way, way above at the top. But I believe those are practical things that the 20-year-olds, the 30-year-olds, if they're willing to do this, if they've got the discipline, if they've got the desire, and they've got the heart, mind, and soul to do this, I would ask them to consider those specific tasks.
Wise words. To the point on the moral compass, William Bennett, who was Secretary of Education under Reagan, this was a book that we read to our children. He wrote a book called The Moral Compass, where from literature, he took examples of what that moral compass was, not just the spirituality, but all the great virtues of integrity, of respect, of honesty, of follow through. And from literature, it's a thick book. So if anyone's wondering what a definition of moral compass might be, that's a great resource in addition to the scriptures that many of us use.
Um,
Jay, and, and to our listeners, Jay was looking forward to this day with about as much as he would look forward to a toothache, but he unfortunately gave his word, and by his code, he followed through. Jay, you influenced me amazingly 40 years ago, and you continue to do it with today's words. Thanks so much for taking the time to being with us.
Carl, I just want to close with letting you know that you keep saying what a key influence in your life that I was. I have to tell you once again how proud I am of you, and that from the bottom of my heart, I love you, brother.
Same coming at you. Thanks so much, Jay. Thanks for being with us. And to our listeners, thanks for listening in.